What if the approval you have been waiting for your entire life was never coming? Not because you are not worthy, not because you have not tried hard enough, but because the person you are trying to please stopped looking a long time ago. Think of every choice you have quietly bent to fit someone else's expectations, the career you picked to make them proud, the words you swallowed to keep the peace. Somewhere along the way, their opinion became the only measure of whether your life counted. Here is the quiet tragedy. Most of us are not performing for the people in front of us. We are performing for ghosts, a parent who has passed, a version of someone who has already moved on, an audience that in truth stopped watching years ago. Approval was never meant to be a destination. It was built into us as a survival tool. As infants, being liked by the tribe meant being fed, being protected, being kept alive. That ancient wiring never asked whether the tribe still mattered. It only knew how to want. So we carry that wiring into adulthood, where the stakes have changed, but the hunger has not. We no longer need the tribe to survive. Yet some part of us still flinches at disapproval as if it were a matter of life and death. Notice the shape of this chase. It never ends at a finish line. You earn one nod of approval, and almost instantly, a new standard appears. The goalposts do not move because people are cruel. They move because approval was never designed to be satisfied. Think about the parent who is never quite satisfied. The good grade was good, but why not perfect? The promotion was nice, but what about the next one? This is not really about you. It is about a hunger inside them that has nothing to do with your worth. Some people are simply incapable of giving the approval you are seeking, not because you have failed them, but because approval requires a kind of generosity they were never taught to offer, not to you, not to themselves, not to anyone. And here is the part that stings the most. Even if they finally gave it to you, the satisfaction would not last. The relief would fade within days, because the void you are filling was never really about them. It was always about the relationship you have with yourself. We often confuse approval with love. They are not the same thing. Love does not require you to perform. Love does not keep score. Approval is conditional by nature. It says, I will accept you, but only if you remain exactly the way I expect you to be. Consider how much of your life has been spent rehearsing conversations that never happen, defending decisions to people who are not even in the room, imagining their judgment so vividly that it shapes what you do long before they ever weigh in. This imagined audience follows you everywhere, into the clothes you choose, the opinions you soften, the dreams you quietly shrink down to a size that feels safer to share. You are not living your life. You are narrating it for someone who is not even listening. There is a strange kind of grief in realizing this. Grief for the years spent waiting. Grief for the version of you that delayed joy, delayed honesty, delayed rest, all in service of a verdict that was never going to be delivered. But grief, when you let it move through you, makes room for something else. It clears space for a quieter, steadier question. Not, will they approve of me, but can I live with the choice I am making, regardless of who is watching? This shift does not happen all at once. It happens in small, unremarkable moments. The email you send without rereading it 5 times. The dinner you decline without an elaborate excuse. The truth you speak even though your voice shakes slightly while you say it. Letting go of approval does not mean you stop caring about people. It means you stop outsourcing your worth to them. You can love someone fully and still refuse to let their reaction decide whether your life has meaning. There is a kind of freedom on the other side of this realization, not a loud, triumphant freedom, a quiet one. The freedom of no longer checking the room before you speak. The freedom of choosing rest without needing to justify it to anyone. You will still feel the old pull sometimes. The instinct to check, to explain, to soften yourself so others feel comfortable. That is fine. The goal was never to silence the instinct completely. The goal was to stop obeying it without question. Ask yourself honestly, whose approval have you been chasing? A parent, a former friend, a version of society that exists mostly in your own head. Now ask something harder. What would you do differently this week if their verdict no longer mattered at all? The people whose approval you crave most are often the least equipped to give it freely. Not because you misjudged them, but because approval flows from people who feel whole. And wholeness cannot be demanded from someone who has not yet found it in themselves. Even if you finally earned their approval, notice what happens next. The bar moves. A new standard appears, quietly, almost overnight. What satisfied them yesterday is forgotten today, and you find yourself reaching again, chasing a target that was never fixed in the first place. Here is something rarely said aloud. The people whose approval you crave are often searching for approval themselves. Their opinions are shaped by their own fears, their own unmet needs, their own quiet doubts. You are asking an empty cup to fill yours. When your worth depends on someone else's nod, you hand them the steering wheel of your life. Every decision bends toward their reaction. Every choice gets filtered through a question that was never yours to ask in the first place. Will they approve of this? Even imagined approval, the kind you rehearse quietly in your head before it happens, never quite satisfies you. It touches something for a moment, then fades like warmth from a fire that has already gone out. The void remains, patient, waiting for the next attempt. There is a quieter question worth asking instead. Not, will they approve, but do I approve? Do I respect the choice I just made? Do I recognize myself in this decision? That question, asked honestly, answers itself in a way no outside voice ever could. Something shifts on the day you stop waiting. Not dramatically, not all at once, but quietly, like a held breath finally released. The energy you spent rehearsing their reactions becomes available again, for living, for creating, for simply being present in your own life. Letting go of the need for approval does not mean you stop caring about people. It simply means you stop outsourcing your sense of self to their opinions. You can love someone fully and still not need their permission to exist exactly as you are. Imagine a life built on quiet certainty instead of constant performance. A life where your choices come from your own values, not from guessing what others might privately think. That life moves slower. It feels steadier underfoot, and it belongs entirely, finally, to you. So ask yourself, gently, without judgment, who would you be if their approval simply stopped mattering? What would you choose differently? What would you finally allow yourself to say, or do, or become, if you were no longer waiting for permission to begin? The approval you have been chasing was never coming, not because you are not enough, but because it was never really about you at all. It was always about their own unspoken fears. Your worth was settled long before they ever had an opinion on it. So release the waiting. Let it go slowly, like a breath you have been holding for years without noticing. You do not need their nod to begin. You never did. The only approval that was ever truly required was the quiet, steady approval of your own heart.